Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Pirate University. Thank you all for joining us. We are here for day 3 of Pirate University. This is our 10th anniversary of our in-house training that we have a lot of different people show up and come to from all over the place. And for the last 3 days, we have spent a lot of time working on technical. And we went from day 1 where we started with a blank warehouse and built a stage and built an LED wall and put up drape. And then day 2 we went to sound and video and lighting, and here we are on day 3 on production. And what we like to have is our capstone event is an actual live event. Now in this case, we not only have a live event where we're working on production queues at the same time, but we have it as a hybrid event. We have a remote caller coming in, and we're streaming out to YouTube. And the idea is so that we're always working on improving ourselves, and everybody in our community is learning how to get better. So we're going to start today and kick right into our program. We have a tight timeline, and we want to stay on track because that's how a show runs. So let me introduce everyone. To my right is my friend Matt Paladino, who's the Director of Event Production and Meeting Services for PepsiCo Global Internal Communications. Matt, welcome.
Thank you.
And to Matt's right, we have Omar Colom, visionary leader and founder of AV Educate, as well as an expert video engineer. Omar, welcome. Thank you for coming. And to Omar's right and remote, we have our friend Cindy Echineque, who is an AV support engineer for CTCI Technology and formerly of Pfizer, and I have to be fully transparent, formerly of Corporate Audiovisual Services as well. Cindy, it's great to have you with us. So this is an example of where we're using all the technology our clients would use, and we're bringing it to our live show here at Pirate University. So we're going to get started because, you know, time is valuable. So I'm going to start with Matt. That's why he's in the hot seat. It gets very hot up here in the summer. So Matt, could you tell us all about your role at PepsiCo and what types of events you typically work on?
I will. First, give yourselves a round of applause for investing in yourself.
Woo!
Oh, what do I do, Joe? So I oversee the event production and meeting services. So at Pepsi, it's unique that our meeting planners and our event producers are one department. 15 of us total. We are responsible for New York headquarters, Chicago, and Plano. Anything happens on site, as well as the top 25 executives, anything that happens off site. Lots of pressure. We got it. So I personally still do the board of directors. So wherever we fly, if we're in Hyderabad, wherever we are, I'm there with them. Deal directly with communications, like here's the message, deal directly with legal. Think this seat's hot?
Yeah, well.
That's a hot seat. So, well, we have a massive team of very, very skilled people. So our work isn't just the high-touch CEO work. We also do 1,000-person show. I just got back from Vegas, 1,000-person show, massive LED walls, highly produced like a TV show, like 9 months of preparation, deep, awesome, big, cool productions, and then we'll be there with 14 board members dealing with legal the next day. So it's a fabulous opportunity, and very lucky to be there.
Well, that's great. We're glad you're here because you have a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I think that's really going to help all of our attendees at Pirate.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Omar, I'm going to ask you the same question. When you're not training, you know, what types of events do you typically work on?
Yeah, so I'm still a video engineer in the field, right? Which is one of the things I pride myself on when it comes to being a trainer, is that I'm not just training, I also work in the same field that I train in. So all the things that I train on is the same things I do in the real world. I've primarily been shifting a little bit more to the project management, show caller style, to be more in that leadership role to help the team out as I'm doing things. And I've kind of delegated off to my team and people that I work with to take over those roles that I used to do all the time. So projection, video switcher, shader, graphics, playback, all those little things like that. So still a video engineer, still really deep and diving in that. do a lot of EIC work, and show calling primarily as of now.
That's great. So you're not doing because, or you're not teaching because you don't know how to do.
Yes.
You're actually doing both.
Thank you. That is what I was saying without saying that word. But yeah, no, and just to add to that, all the trainers that I have are also people that are in the field, right? That was one of the things I've always been really adamant about when I started this program was I wanted to make sure that we got people that do this, that are not just like, oh, I read a book, here's what this is. No, like I want you to have real world experience so you can bring back those stories and share those real things that you can't get. Because there's a point, I'm a big component of RTFM, right? But there's a point where the manual isn't enough anymore. You need that experience. And that's where the trainers that I like to work with and that come in with me, we kind of excel at. So these are guys, and any of our stuff that we're doing, these are guys that are in the field. They do either right before, like I was just in Denver doing a show, just like you were in Vegas. I was just in Denver doing a show, and I was running a 4ME 8-time switcher. So I was there, and now I'm here doing teaching.
It's amazing. Love it. That's exactly the kind of experience that's really helpful to everybody. All right, Cindy, we're coming your way. Why don't you tell us about your typical events and the organization you're part of as well?
Well, at CTCI, I actually manage one of their biotech clients. So my typical events are corporate meetings, live events, special events, virtual and hybrid events, and educational events. Each of these events and meetings require a different approach and level of AV support. So being adaptable and prepared for various scenarios is key for their success.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine there's a lot that you have to kind of be aware of at all times and adapt as you go.
Yes, definitely.
Well, it's interesting. You know, let's piggyback off that, Cindy. Why don't you tell me, how did you start learning about the AV business and what training have you had?
So I actually had the pleasure of being one of the first to attend Pirate University, which was an enormous help. I started learning by attending school for audio engineering, which provided me with a deep understanding of audio and production. Attending Pirate University and working at corporate AV also gave me a diverse experience. Handling different types of events, whether corporate, live shows, or special events, allow me to adapt to various AV requirements and challenges. Working at the warehouse and the stagehand roles also provided a comprehensive understanding of equipment setup, logistics, and physical aspects of AV production. A little bit of mentorship from experienced professionals were also a big help with hands-on training.
That's actually a really interesting answer, because you mentioned a lot of things besides starting from the ground up, which I think is really interesting, is how we started the whole program of day one, was starting from the ground up. And you also mentioned mentorships, which is, I think, a big part of our community. And we've been talking community for the last few days, so that's really great, really helpful. Omar, how did you first get started in our world of AV and start learning?
So I'm second generation AV. I know it's not very common, but it's becoming more common. My father owns a company in South Florida called Media Stage, Inc. Been around since before I was born. So I kind of grew up in the industry. So that's how I kind of got in. I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I was younger, and this is what I'm doing now. So it's very simple for me to get in.
So you kind of had to.
I didn't, well, so to sidetrack, I did join the military for 6 years, did 2 tours overseas. Then I came out of the military, and then I kind of worked with my father. My father's old school Latin guy, so it wasn't like, oh, you're my son, you're going to be top. No, it was like, you're going to be in the warehouse guy, and you're going to push cases and do, QC stuff all day. And then once I think you're ready, you'll move up. And I did 6 years with my dad. I say working like a dog, and I don't mean that negatively, but I worked crazy hours. But I learned every department, I learned everything in video, and after 6 years, or 4.5 years, I moved up to the video lead position. But even then, I was still the QC guy, the prep guy, the pull sheet guy, the review with the sales team guy. I was all of it, and then running the show, striking, putting it back, going back to the warehouse, offloading, reloading. And that experience has definitely catapulted everything I'm doing moving forward because of it. But back in the day, as far as training goes, I mean, it was Infocom, which is a Vixia now, which is very install heavy, so it's not the same as it is now. And then it was read the manual or nothing. So I read a lot of manuals, did a lot of hands-on, had a lot of prep time.
You needed a Pirate U. That's what you
I definitely needed a Pirate U. 15 years ago, this stuff didn't exist. So.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. Well, Matt, let me kick it over to you. How did you first get started and start learning AV?
I went to Lollapalooza. I sat behind,
That's a good start.
I sat behind front of house. I saw racks and racks of tubes. I saw an engineer having the time of his life. And I said, that's a job? So I enrolled in a comms engineering class during high school. I left high school. I went right to Full Sail University.
Okay.
I graduated from there. I got real lucky. I went to go work for Walter Stork Design Group. I don't know any studio people in here, but
Well, we got a few studio people.
I mean, that was a blessing of all blessings, what I was exposed to. After that, I moved down to Atlanta because I was, the scene was hot down there.
Yep.
I worked in studios. Did a lot of rap. That's when rap was really, really hot down there. I want to say the year and age myself. Ended up the chief engineer for Jeff Foxworthy
Ah,
at 23 years old. Once again, where'd that come from? Got real lucky. Working in studios, Digi-001 came out.
Nice.
All studio people panicked and said, oh my God, you can do what I do for $1,000. So I went into live production at hotels. A good place to start, and 24 years.
well,
And I
there we
took
go.
all, training's part of the question, whatever's available. And this day and age, ladies and gentlemen, go online at night. Go, just sit around, obsess,
Yes.
win.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't exist, I imagine, when you
We-
two
we-
guys started.
No.
The common theme, we all started with a wet foot on a dock,
Yep.
getting ready for a 14-hour day.
I mean, and I'll jump on what you're saying here. I hate to say this and admit this. Post-pandemic, though, YouTube University for AV, totally a thing. Prior to that,
Yes.
you couldn't find anything online. You'd be lucky to find
I
something.
felt
Now,
like people were protecting
Yes,
knowledge.
100%.
It was that old school thought, right?
Yes.
That's funny you say that. I've recognized that as
yeah,
well.
since 4 years, there was nothing online that would teach you the way it does now. Now it is an actual thing. So there is no more excuses of, oh, I don't know how to get it. Almost every video product on the market has a simulator. Audio has simulators now. You can do a DAW, and all the fundamentals are there for the same exact thing. Lighting has simulators or visualizers for everything they're doing. There's no reason you can't download the software for free, run the simulator, go online, watch videos, follow along, and do the work to figure these things out. Granted, I'm not saying that's the only way to learn. Read the manuals. I'm a big component of that. I read a ton. You can also go to classes like this, Pirate University, go to VHK, go to Infocom, whatever it is. If you want to learn hands-on, that's a great way to learn too. But again, there is so many more opportunities than you and me had when we came in. It was get your foot in the door, work your way up the ladder as best you could,
Yep.
and then hopefully you didn't burn out or you didn't piss enough people off and you kept getting work.
Obsessed to be the best.
Yes.
It's really good advice, and I think you're seeing some common themes of where people got started. There's something to understanding the foundation, of what, it doesn't matter what type of event just yet, but understanding and having those foundational skills, it seems to have been a part of all three of your lives. And, I don't come from a technical background, so I really don't know that much technically. But I know,
You know enough.
I know enough.
You seem to be
Enough
doing
you did.
okay,
I know
Joe.
enough. I figured a few things out along the way. But it's that willingness to learn. I think that's what Pirate University is all about, and that's what everybody is here trying to do. And we've talked about intentional growth, a few times now. And, and then sometimes you get lucky, right? Sometimes you fall into a good situation, and you fall into, like Cindy was mentioned, mentorship, and you fall into a role in a good time, like in Atlanta, or, and opportunities usually show up for the people who work hard and who make the right impressions and who put themselves in the right place. Miraculously, those opportunities start showing up. So it's a testament certainly to the work ethic that the three of you guys have put into place. We talked a lot about technical skills over the last couple of days. I want to talk a little bit about how soft skills play a part. And really the three of you are experts in corporate meetings and corporate events. So we're not talking about concerts, we're not talking about festivals, and there's a zillion other types of events. But on the corporate side, there's some particular things I think you kind of need to get used to. So I think, Omar, I'm gonna start with you on this one. what do you think has kind of made you successful in this business? And that can be technical, but also in the soft skills.
Yeah. So, how do I say this without shooting my own horn here? I think I have a very good skill set of both sides, the technical and the soft skills. I have realized in the last couple of years from doing what I do now, the major request I get is more for soft skills. I can teach the hard skills all day long. The soft skills are harder to teach or harder for people to implement, let's say that. I can tell you all day long a bunch of things, but you implementing that is a different conversation. I can teach you things all day long, and that's easy, right? Because it's you and a machine. The machine does what you tell it to do, but people don't always do that. You have to be a little bit smarter on the emotional intelligence side and just how to communicate with people. So it's a different way of doing things. And what I've seen happen a lot of times, and I use house as an analogy, right? You can be the house of audio, the house of video, the house of whatever, but if you have that personality, you're not going to get the calls unless it's like a super uber duper high-end show, and I can guarantee that you won't meet the client, right? But for 99% of the other shows that I have, I'm going to call the other guy who is like half as good as you, but really good with the client because that's what I want in corporate side. So I think there's a duality needs to happen. We need to have both of those skills to kind of merge and move up. But more and more clients now are looking for those soft skills in their techs because we're having more of those one-to-one, you know? What's interesting about what we do for corporate AV specifically is that we interact with the CEOs, with the presidents, with the VPs directly. There's not this middleman in between us all the time. And if there is, you're still at some point getting that interaction with somebody who is connected to that person. And a lot of industries, that doesn't happen, right? Unless something is going wrong and there's a manager involved to separate that. Here, it's like, no, it's you and that person, and I need you to be as good to my client as I am to you because this is a part of our job. And I think we lose that a little bit when we get too technical. We start thinking more of, I do these steps and it gets this result. I'm just doing that with people. It's like, but people aren't like that. They have emotions and feelings, and they might have a good day or bad day, whatever it is. You have to be able to read those interpretations of what's going on and react appropriately. And a lot of times it just comes down to communicating, right? Just speaking up. If I'm doing X, Y, Z, hey, I need to get this done to get what you need done. Can we work on a compromise here, right? Or realizing this is the CEO, I need to stop what I'm doing and pay attention, right? But it's that emotional intelligence, that EQ side, which I'm not great at either, but I've worked on that a lot in my career, and I've read a lot of books to improve on that. But that's, I think, where I've excelled at is I've constantly built both of those sides up, the technical side and the soft skills side. But what I'm realizing for clients more and more, and from what I hear back on feedback from the shows, a lot of people lack on the soft skills sides. And it's the quickest thing to be like, hey, listen, you're great at what you do, but you were rude to the client, or you did X, Y, Z at the hotel, and someone found out, so I gotta let you go. Because at the end of the day, we're also, as a freelancers, we're kind of the scapegoats a little bit, right? Oh, this guy, I'll take care of it. He's gone. I'll bring you someone tomorrow.
It's very easy to say, yep, you know what, we'll bring in someone else.
Yeah.
That's true.
True, 100%.
And if a company was going to lose the opportunity to work with the organization again, they are going to bring in someone else. Absolutely guaranteed. So that's a good point. You mentioned that as you're going along, you learned kind of like the soft skills became more important.
Yeah.
How far along in your career did you start to realize
Yeah, so
that was important?
I would say officially I've been doing this for 15 years, right? Because that's when I kind of left the military, came in. I would say 8 years in is when I really realized that. I did 6 years with my father, and then 2 years freelancing, and then I went to the hotel side for a little bit because I had a daughter. And that's when I was in an operation role / director role. Mm-hmm. And then from there, when I left that to go freelancing again, I built up this really good soft skill set. And because I already had the what I call hard skills, the technical skills, I moved up very quickly because I knew how to talk to people and how to interact and like just make things work. And then I had another opportunity at another company as a director of operations. And that's when I really got into working with on the higher end side with the clients directly on the pre-pro side. And you can see those conversations where, oh, this guy came in smelling like this guy came in with ripped jeans, this guy came in with blah, blah, blah. And these little things that you never get told.
My least favorite complaint, by the way.
Right, but
least favorite complaint.
And it is, but it's like
It's
these are the little things that clients do, right? And it's like I hate to say they're nitpicking, but it's like their job is to give their clients, their end clients, the best possible thing that they can. And your guy coming in looking like he looks like, whatever the case is, right? Whether it's a smell, a look, an appearance, or tethered, whatever it is, or your foul language, that reflects on them because you're an extension of that client. And that's what they come back to because, hey, I'm paying you $100,000+ here. What is this, right? Where'd you get this guy from? You know, there's and the other thing too we forget is that these conferences we do, these are big events for the companies. To us, it's another show, it's another conference. But for that company, they have got all the people together from all over the U.S. to come in and come together. And this could be the first time that such and such has met somebody they've been emailing all year long. So that interaction needs to be as good as possible, because this is an event for them, and it's a once-a-year event, you know, and if it's a bigger event. If it's a smaller event, it could be a smaller micro event for like healthcare, but these things are really, really important to them, and they want it to be perfect, essentially. And the way you act, the way you interact, the way you treat people is a reflection of the entire process. And I think we forget that because we get so bogged down on the technical side. We forget they are here for an experience that we're providing. We need to be the experience from start to finish, including ourselves.
You know, you mentioned one point about how important the event is to the client. And going from show to show, sometimes you're just thinking it's another event, another meeting, another event. Oh, it's the same thing as last week. Whoever you're seeing, this is their most important day, 100% of the time. And you got to be on.
I mean, I'll throw it to you. To your point, 9 months in the making, right?
Oh.
9 months, you do all this pre-pro, this planning, and then it just takes one person to act like an idiot, and now like 9 months is worthless. Oh, I can't
100%
believe you
true.
did this and that, and you're like, I spent 9 months doing this. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
There's one guy. Listen, that guy's gone. Right?
Quickly.
Quickly.
Yes. Well,
Very
you know, let's kick it over to Matt, because I know you have a lot of thoughts on this.
Oh, my heavens.
So why don't we kick it over? You and contribute your thoughts to this.
So, very well said. Super
Thank you.
important. What's my secret sauce throughout my career? Trust. You know,
Yep,
we've known each other for a long time.
absolutely.
You have to trust people. And you have to trust
Yes, 100%.
you not to walk into a show.
Yep.
People have to trust you. That's a wrap in general. Relationships, we all have them.
Yep.
You know, I'm so blessed. I go to Orlando now. I walk in, I see Omar. You know, that's just been something that's been paramount for me. I got very, very lucky. That's because I put myself in situations to get lucky. You know.
Yeah.
When I was younger, and we would do a 4-hour call, and then we're off for 4 hours, and then back for the strike with that wet sock from the dock. You know, everybody else went out and grabbed a bite to eat. I grab a quick bite, and I would come to whoever's shading.
Yeah.
And I'd say, listen, can I just awkwardly stand behind you for 4 hours? Because whatever's happening here, I'm not privy to it.
I love that.
And 9 times out of 10, they would say, absolutely. You know, I'd go to the front of house guy and be like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on? And you don't hear that very often, do you?
No.
And people ate
That
it
is a
up.
lost art for sure.
They absolutely ate it up. And everybody, Paladino, come out with us. Absolutely, no, I'm going to sit here. So I put myself in those lucky situations. You know what I mean? I wasn't even intentionally trying to get a name. I'm like, what am I going to do? Eat a bowl of macaroni? I'd rather sit here and learn from the best. And
Yeah.
also, I always ask what people forget to do. Can I just listen to the calls on comms? I'll just sit in the back. I won't talk. Let me just listen to how this is all orchestrated and what's going on. So, put yourself in situations that you're going to get lucky, and people are going to say, "There's an outlier. It's a different person." So, that was a biggie. Act like a pro, not a fan. We deal with celebrities all the time.
Yes. They're people.
Be cool. Be cool. I mean, I'm sure you've been through all of them. Put your phone down. Act like a pro. Mic them up. Same thing you told everybody else. Just do it. Just be a pro. We work in the monster truck business. There's going to be problems every single day, especially in your world.
Yes.
In the engineering and the EIC world, that's your
Yeah.
primary role.
Bread and butter right there.
Problems. If you can't shake it, you ain't going to make it. You know what I mean? You have to understand how to be calm, cool, collected, well-rested, hydrated, well-fed. Let's go. We have a long day ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen. Be calm. People are going to respect it. As soon as you lose your mind, it's almost as bad as the person with the bad attitude.
Yep.
You just did that in front of X person, not really a good idea. There's always a solution. There is no such thing as, I'm sorry, that we just don't, you know, we just can't get that. If you need a zebra in 2 hours and 25 minutes, we're going to try and figure it out. We're going to try and get a zebra in here legally. Hopefully legally. It's going to happen. You know what I mean? We're in this situation all the time.
Yeah.
You know, also know who your client is. If you're talking to me or Omar and we're out of MasterCards, like all we have is a 4K card left, they want 1080 pips, it's not going to work. Don't go to somebody who has, don't go to somebody at a gala who's got no clue what you're talking about. Keep it short, keep it sweet. We have a little bit of a challenge, we're working on it, and make it happen. And the soft skills, I mean, I feel like this is a newer, like it was almost expected of us to not have soft skills 10 years ago. It was like, we were just kind of like these AV people, right? Now it's a completely different world. It is absolutely an expectation to have a professional aptitude and to know who your client is and what they're up against. Joe mentioned that earlier. Absolutely important. Sometimes we're in a gala. It's hype, it's fun, we're going bananas, things are pyro. Sometimes this poor person you're miking up has got to go deliver really bad news to 4,000 people. Mic them up, say, here's Denise, she's all right too. She's going to mic you up. I have a little area over here for you with a light. You're on in 10 minutes. I'll make sure I let you know 3 minutes till. Let him be. Understand where you're at and what it is. When it's hype, go, enjoy, have a great time. But understand, you have to kind of get into character, curb yourself. I'm not the greatest at it. I struggle with it, but it really is a skill.
It's a skill, 100%.
Bring your whole self to work and be yourself, but be good at putting that uniform on sometimes. So that's my take.
No, those are good suggestions, and explains a lot as to how you've been successful, and you've gotten these, opportunities that just miraculously showed up. It's because you put the work in. They don't just miraculously show up. They show up because you were ready for them,
Yeah.
and you were the right person.
Well, I'm a pretty poor tech, so I really had to have a good attitude.
Well,
Yeah, but
I don't
that
know.
goes back to I've never had a client go, I remember you were such a good video switcher guy.
Mm.
I've always had a guy come back, oh, and I remember you last year. We had such a good time talking about XYZ, and you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
whatever that comes, yeah, we had a great time, right? I've never had anybody come back to me telling me about how good my skills were on a set from a client. Maybe technical guys, yeah, but clients,
That is,
hey, you remember that conversation we had, blah, 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 blah? Yeah, oh yeah, how's it been? What's going on? That's what I've been, when I get feedback on.
I know it sounds corny to you guys because you haven't actually been in there, but it especially in my world, it couldn't be more true. If you come in with that bad vibe, like, right, we can't do that. We're under could you imagine the stress we're under? Very complicated situations. The eyeballs are on us. 50,000 people are watching it. My CEO's right there. Like, we need to really, really buckle it up, and everybody just has that discipline internally to stop, think, act appropriately.
Yep.
We can go bang golf balls off the boat afterwards, but for right now, we're in character.
That's an interesting point. I have a feeling you guys might have heard some of these things earlier in the last couple of days too. But now you're hearing it from people who have to do it every single day. Cindy, why don't you guide us through some of the things that have helped you be successful in this business, whether it's technical or soft skills?
So, what I believe has made me successful, I would say, is a combination of education, strong technical skills, effective communication with your client, building trust, making the clients comfortable, staying calm, being able to explain technology in a way that someone that doesn't have much knowledge in tech would understand, asking all the right questions, and possibly walking them through their event or meetings in advance, I'd say was the biggest recipe for success for me.
Yeah, walking people through the events, it's funny that you say that because prior to COVID, that was less of AV's job and more of a production company. There was a third-party company that did that work. Once
Yes.
COVID came and everything went virtual, I'm willing to bet, Cindy, that was you.
Yeah, definitely was.
And Omar, because I know he was online, and Matt, because I know he was online.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but Cindy made a great point about, and I that's on my mind too. And when you get too technical, you start talking very technical. Clients don't. If I'm loading a PowerPoint and it needs to load, I don't need to know. Oh, it's X amount of gigabytes. No, it's going to take download time. It says 2-minute ETA or whatever. They don't need to know anything beyond that. Like anything beyond that. Oh, the codec is this, and I got to convert it. No, I got to convert your file to play back properly. That's it. You got to dumb it down a little bit.
Well, you're making it less technical.
Yeah.
Right? you know, I think in the technical side, we use that term a lot, dumbing it down. But in reality, we may be talking about someone who speaks 6 languages. So are we really dumbing it down, or are we just not talking the language that they speak, right? If they're in finance, they know things in finance that we're never going to know. If they're in pharmaceutical, like Cindy's folks, I can't even spell any of the things that they sell or involve in, you know? So, but I think sometimes we get caught up in that thought process. Oh, they don't understand anything. But that's not true. They just don't understand what you're working on. And our job is to help them. Maybe not to understand it, but to help them. And I think if we go at it from a service perspective all the time, you're usually going to be in a better position. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree.
100%. My exact thought was a doctor. Everybody's complaining about doctors not knowing how to use a microphone. I was like, and that's fine if you don't need a microphone. You're a surgeon. Let's switch roles, see how you do as a surgeon, cut somebody up right now and fixing an XYZ.
Right.
I guarantee you're going to be like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
He has not read about proximity effects. He doesn't know.
He doesn't know. He has no
Like this,
idea.
right.
Yeah, it's definitely a different perspective. You know, and so Cindy, I get it. I mean, those are pretty complex environments, the pharmaceutical companies, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely. You're dealing with a lot of people, a lot of executives. So you have to find a way to relate to them and to be able to explain certain things to them.
You know, that's an interesting thing. How would you relate to someone in that field?
So usually I ask them first, you know, what are you looking for your event, for your meeting? Let me know your requirements. When I take that, I usually ask them, hey, can we get on a call? So then I can walk them through how it'll play out. I'll ask them, what do you think about this? I give them options, and then we pretty much go from there.
I don't know. To me, that sounds like a professional.
Yeah.
That's what that
Yeah.
sounds like. You're a professional. You're not just telling them, all right, it's going to work like this. You're asking them what they would like to see as an outcome. And then you're giving them choices on how to achieve that result, which is what we're all here for, right? Sometimes we get bogged down and we forget this.
And sometimes that exec's going to say, put the mic on and go over there. And in that instance, you say,
got it.
yes, ma'am.
Yep.
And you put the mic on and say, we'll let you know. That's a real thing. You know, I think it's wonderful. You know, do your best to explain what's going on, but get your pitch down. Like, not too much, not too little, and somebody says.
I think you hit something on the nail that I feel people need to hear. I always tell people, you want to be this perfectionist, but if the client says this is okay, that's it. That's okay. Move on. Don't try to be this when the client's saying this.
Yeah.
All right? Like if they say that, exactly, you want to mic yourself up? Here you go. I'll be right here. I'll let my team know that you mic yourself up, and I'm done.
With our execs, I'm very, very lucky, right? I know everybody. I know who's nervous and wants to be chatty, wants to talk about real estate and stock prices, and I will sit there and go with you until you go on to go get them. I know exactly who wants to walk in. We're all business. How you doing? Good? Everything going well? Great. What's going on? You know the drill. I'll let you know.
And that's the relationship.
Know your client.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Even when you work with them every day. Like, no.
You know, interesting thing, this is a little historical point. I knew about Matt before we ever met for a client that we weren't working with. They said, we'd love to give you the job, but I trust this guy, Matt. That was fine. I said, I don't know, Matt. What are you talking about? we did end up doing the work later on, but after developing relationship, which is exactly what he's talking about and why he's so good at it, because those relationships are really important. We happen to have a bunch of people on our day-to-day team that they're asked for by name because the clients have relationships with them. They know they're going to help them look good that day, which is what all of our jobs are, is to help whoever that client is look good that day. So, I mean, that it's just so critical, knowing your client and the relationships. You know, we're going to stay on that point because I want to stay on soft skills. You know, why are soft skills? We're talking about relationships, but maybe we won't get the chance to get to know these people. Maybe it's we're in and out that day. But Matt, why are soft skills so important?
It's how you're remembered. You know, the best engineers I've ever met, sometimes nobody knows who they are, right? There's not a lot of Omars in this world, right? That you have both sides.
Thankfully.
Yeah, you've got both sides of your brain, truly. Like, you don't see, like, those fabulous engineers don't exactly walk in with those soft skills. That's how you're remembered. If you blow a cue, we might laugh about it afterwards, but we're not going to remember it. I'm going to say, you know, things happen. It's going to be don't blow cues.
No, don't try to
Don't
do
aspire to do that. We'll get over it. Moving on, the rest of the show is phenomenal. We got our message out. If you come in and you have a bad attitude or any of the other list of the things that go into the soft skill category aren't achieved, people are going to remember it. And I promise you, I hear about it. And that's a wrap. It's very sad. You know, you could say one silly thing and you can be the best of the best, you know, with your mind and your fingers, and it could be blown real quick. So I'm so glad that this is so dedicated to soft skills, because it is something that took years for me to understand that wild value, and you know, just go in, read the room, just be cool, you know, relax. It's a very important part that's I don't think it's emphasized enough in what we do.
No, I agree, and that's why we try to, you know, have these discussions with everybody here. Again, this is a safe space, right? This is a training ground. Everybody's okay in here, because when we get out there, we're live, we're hot. We got one chance. Everybody's got one chance. The CEO that's presenting has one chance. The new product launch only comes once, unless you're New Coke, and we're not talking about that. But I mean, you have one shot. So that attitude is really critical. Omar, anything to add on to soft skills? I mean,
you hit it on the nail. Honestly, I don't think I have anything to add to that. If I could think of something real quick, it'd be more about the industry. We talked about this a second ago. The industry has definitely changed, and I'm sure that both of you can attest to this. When we started, it was very hold tight to your skill set, and there was this weird thing. I remember when I was younger. I was like, why is it the longer people stay in this industry, the more grumpy they get? They just got angrier, it seems like, as they stayed long in their career. Right? Now there's a different change. And the younger generation is forcing some of this, and so is like my generation as well, like the way we're operating and doing things. They're not as afraid to lose the work. If they feel like they're not treated properly or not respected a certain way, they will walk out. They don't care. Like they will risk it all because they have so much self-value in themselves, they'll risk everything to get a certain way they want. Or when we were coming up, it was like, either you treat me because I'm in charge this way and you earn your right to be respected, or you can get the out of here, right? Now it's like, you're going to respect me regardless, and if you don't like it, I'll leave. And you're like, well, I still kind of need you, so okay, cool. Like it's a different dynamic nowadays, and I think we need to be aware of that a little bit when we're doing things. And the soft skills is where that really plays into. You can't do it the old way anymore. It doesn't work. And the community, we have social media now, and it's so ingrained in the way we do things. Group chats are a thing, FaceTiming, you know, these AV disaster pages and like that on Facebook. These are pages that people are communicating. Hey, don't work with such what Z person because they're a whatever. Don't work with this client because they don't do blah, blah, blah. And this is stuff that people read and they check out. And I will say, I wish I played devil's advocate here. The reverse side is also true. If you put someone on blast, don't expect to get work from other people too, because they're like, oh, I don't want that guy to work with me either, because he's just going to put me on blast now if I don't do something XYZ correct. And then again, going another step, the next level over that, I've also seen the reverse of that, where there are people who are very entitled, which is the other problem we have now, right? And they communicate faster than they actually get a resolution because they're not being proactive for XYZ purposes. And I think that's where those leadership skills come into place. Like, I've seen tons of stuff on social media in the last couple of years where someone said, oh, this guy did XYZ, and that person goes into the chat and provides the other half of the story, and you're like, oh, well, no, dude, you're in the wrong. Now you're doubling the wrong because now you're posting about it, and you change the story when it's this. So there's a lot about what needs to be talked about, because the community does talk and the community does interact in a way that, you know, Yelp is like everywhere now. So everybody gets your cheat for everything you're doing. It doesn't matter who you are. If you affect somebody in some way, there is an outlet for them to talk about it, and everybody will know about it. So you have to be very cautious of what you're doing, and a lot of that comes down to communication and relationships and being just personable and hospitable to people, which doesn't seem like a hard thing, but apparently it is.
well,
Don't go online, it's forever.
it
Read,
is
don't
on
write,
forever.
I assure you. we're laughing about it, but I have seen people lose some massive credibility
Yeah.
in their moment of weakness. It's a very interesting thing you bring up. I have seen it. We've all seen it. We probably know some of the same people.
Well, everybody sees it.
What are you doing?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
You have to think. You have to think before you write
Don't.
and post.
I'm sure as I
First.
said that, someone was like, oh, I know exactly who he's talking about. Or they have an idea of somebody they're thinking of at least, right?
We all know each other
Yeah.
across the country.
Yeah, it's a small community,
Yeah.
and, and for better or worse. Now, in our case, what we try to do here, it's for better. There are times where it's not for better, so let's keep it on the positive. And that's where attitude is very important. I think we all know if we get on site, there's sometimes reputations precede people, and you know that it's going to be a difficult day because you might be working with someone who is known to have a bad attitude. So you don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
You want to be the one that everybody is looking forward to working with, and fortunately we work with a lot of those people, and that's who you want to be. But Cindy, I want to kick this over to you too on the soft skills side and with your executive team. Because you're working with so many different people, and whether it's in their current situation or previously at Pfizer, were there particular things that maybe your executives were looking for, or the concerns that they might have had?
So soft skills were definitely very important to their overall success in their events and their meetings. It also builds confidence in the clients to continue working with you. At Pfizer, strong communication, client management, good customer service, team collaboration, and stress management contribute to seamless event experiences. All these skills build positive relationships with all our stakeholders. So soft skills were definitely very important to have.
You said stakeholders, which I'm not sure if everybody is used to that term, but specifically in the corporate environment, more than a lot of our other environments, they will use that a lot because stakeholders represents a lot of different people.
Right.
And they're all important. It's not just the one person or department or organization. Your organization has about 5,000 products, so they're all important, right?
Yeah.
And when you see executives, Matt, are there certain things that they're concerned about usually? Because you have pretty heavy relationships with these people.
Yeah, we're pretty tight. They're concerned the show goes well. I say all the time, our job is to protect them. I want you to think about nothing, right? I don't exactly voice it to them, but I think over time, they got to that level by having some aptitude, right? They understand we are just there to pay attention to the nuances, the details. We know what each individual person needs. We don't, I know you. Here's how it's going to go, and then we just know it. So they know with their good eye that these guys and girls, they're paying attention to us. They're looking out for our best interest. We know everybody's nuance. We know who likes to use cards. We know who wants to use a clicker. We know who wants notes. We know who wants next slide, previous slide, next slide. We know how we need regular previous slide, next, what? We just know it. We don't ask questions. They just show up and they're like, there you go. Just know it. Don't even say it.
It's full confidence at that point.
Absolutely. So we don't talk about it. I say observe, learn, take notes, pay attention, document for the future, rinse and repeat. And when they change it, change your notes.
You make a good point. We have a number of clients. It's usually off the corporate side. It's more on the nonprofit side. They have very high turnover. It's just the nature of that kind of business. And many times we're the only one who's actually knows the event from the previous year. And they'll say, we're going to do this. I'll say, so-and-so, your board member, usually a board member, they don't really like that. They prefer this. They go, I'm so glad you told me that. Because there's no way for them to know that.
Right.
But if you pay attention, you learn. And now you can help. And again, that's why we're all here. These are really...
Familiarity brings confidence all day long.
Well, and for all of us, for all the technical team as well, right? I mean,
You walk into a bunch of people you don't know. Yeah,
you're learning
That's-
on
yeah.
the fly.
yeah.
So it is true. But there are the basics. So the basics that you guys are talking about, bring a good attitude is certainly a good starting point for everybody, and how you're going to communicate with people. And you said, let's not give them everything, right? Let's give them what they need to know and answer their questions. And Cindy was talking about, asking what outcomes they're looking for so that we can provide them solutions. We talked about over the last couple of days, never using the phrase, "it's not my job." Matt was talking about bringing the zebras in 2 hours. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of work. But there is a solution. It may not be exactly what they asked for, but there's always an opportunity for a solution. Buy yourself time. We talked about taking a minute, the other day. Let me talk to the team. Buy yourself some time to think, so you can come up with an answer for it. So this is really great. Omar, because of the training side, I just wanted to come to that part for a minute. What mistakes or common mistakes do you see technicians make? And this, again, could be, let's stay off the technical side for a minute. Let's go to the soft skill side for a second.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit on the nail earlier, some of the stuff you were saying. So I want to add the duality to this, right, on the business side. For the soft skills, you mentioned how some of the nonprofits you work for, the people that were there at one point are not there, but you're still there, right? That's part of that relationship feeling, right? And that's because you have a relationship because you built that up. And that's a soft skill set. They're not coming to you because they know what you have, but so does everybody else, right? We all, AV, kind of all have the same stuff. But what I think is really interesting about that is for a freelancer to realize this a little bit. When you guys are doing these shows and building relationships, this is, you don't know today who's going to be in charge tomorrow. So the guy you're working with now that you may not like, don't treat him like crap because, I just don't like you because of whatever reason. Because a year from now, he might be in charge of you one day, right? Mm-hmm. And because you had some bad experience with him, she like shit. He's like, oh, you know what? I don't like working with you because you're not the guy. I think there needs to be a consciousness of that. Like this industry is so dynamic in what we can do and how we can move up that if you have the right skill set and the right personality and you're, again, I use the word hospital a lot here, hospitable, you can move up very quickly because people will gravitate to that. But if the personality is not there, you're not going to move as fast, is what I'm trying to say. But also, when you're working with people, remember, when you're at the bottom, just because you're at the bottom doesn't mean that the guy you're working with there in 2, 3, 5 years isn't going to be at the top somewhere else. And if you're friends with that person, you're good to that person, and they treat you well, when technically what happens, right, generally, is if I move up, I want these people to come with me. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give those guys more work than other people because, hey, when I started off and I was hustling, you were there right with me, hustling with me. I want you to come up with me as well. So one of the things I think students feel is they get siloed a little bit, and they start thinking about themselves more than anything else. And like, oh, I got to be the best at this, and I got to do X, Y, Z. And like to your point about staying behind, I put, it wasn't part of the question originally, but I did tons of hours. I graduated with the most amount of volunteer hours in my high school. I did theater for 4 years and TV production for 4 years. And I stayed after school all the time, to the point where I don't even know if this is legal, but at the last year of school, the school gave me a key to the building.
That's not legal, no.
No.
I had a key to my high school to
Don't
do
post
stuff.
this on social media, please.
I had a key to get into the production room, to get into the theater rooms, to get into the prop rooms, to get into the editing bays, because I was there all the time. And they'd have to find me and be like, hey, we got to go. And I was like, I'm not done yet. So I graduated with the most volunteer hours because of that scenario. And it's crazy enough, David is his name, security guard there, ended up running a show for the school. I still get called to this day to help with that show because of just who I was. I was always volunteering my time. And that's the thing, like, he moved on and did other things now, and he ended up doing events in Miami for another convention center. Maybe because I built a relationship with him in high school and he knew what I was doing, he still calls me for those shows now too. So it's like Mr. Bonnet as well, who's a theater teacher. He works at a theater in Broward County. I get calls to come in to do videos sometimes because of my relationship with him that I've had. That thing follows you along. And mind you, Bonnet I was in high school when he was a teacher. Now he's running the department in Broward County. So it's like that relationship that I built with somebody has progressed me forward a lot just to have the opportunities for that. But I didn't know he was going to be doing that in 10 years, 15 years, right? I had no idea. So, sorry, the point is, for the soft skills side, it's not just between you and your clients. It's also people you're working with because you don't know who's going to do what down the road. So don't be mean to one guy or another guy for XYZ purposes, because they may be your boss down the road. And I say that sparingly because they could not be, right? The one thing that I do like about the industry still, and I'm happy this happens, we are very quick to weed people out. If you got the right attitude and you're learning, sure, I'll try with you and I'll put you in scenarios that I know you can grow in and I'll take care of you. If you're not that kind of person and you're just like, oh, I'm here to get a paycheck, cool. I'll see you when I see you then. I may put you on some shows so I know what your rate is, but, right? And then you'll have guys, and again, I've been doing this 15 years. I know guys that I started with, they were 10 years in stagehands, and I'm 15 years later, and they're still stagehands. And some of them want to be there.
That's what they want.
And some of them want to be there, and some of them haven't been able to move up. And I think because of the personality side, right?
No.
They're a lot of theories in their mind about how things work.
They're just have a different perspective.
Yes.
So we're trying to help everybody here with perspective. I think we're going to take some questions. You guys prepared? Cindy, you prepared to take some questions? Sure. Well, that's good, because we're going to take some anyways. All right. So do we have any questions in the audience? Whoa. Well, Sandra handed the person a mic, so he gets the question.
All right. For you, Cindy, thank you for your time. Just wanted to ask you in regards to how do you communicate declining a client's request, but at the same time maintain a positive relationship going forward?
Well, I first of all, I always have a positive attitude. Like I said originally, I try to give them many options. So I ask them a lot of questions. After that, I try to have a walkthrough with them. What I do, it's a little different than Omar and Matt, because I'm in just a corporate environment and I'm managing all these rooms, and then we have one big room where we do the production. So usually the production room, we have this standard type of meeting that we do there where we have static cameras, static audio, and then a producer, which I will produce. So it's just a one package, right? So for a bigger event, goes back to asking the right questions. We would then hire an AV company like Corporate AV to come in. I give them that information, and then they come in and produce the show. So it's a little different for me, but overall, I would say positive attitude and asking the right question and giving them options.
It's a good answer. Asking the right questions. We'll go to Jessica.
Hi, my name is Jessica Eisenhower. I'd like to start off by thanking each of you for sharing your experience and your wisdom with us today. I was curious, just to anyone, I welcome you all to respond. What soft skill do you think is the hardest to master, or at least maintain for extended periods of time? And what makes it still so important to maintain that skill?
Not overstating. Having the discipline to stay on topic and keep it short. Good Lord knows I struggle with it, right? I want to explain all day long. Everybody to know everything. Jim, don't laugh. It's very, very important. I think you touched on it earlier. Some people need to know what's going on. Why is there no PIP? Explain it to me in depth. Some people just need to know, we got it. We're having a challenge with one of our switchers. Give me 5 minutes so I can work on it, and please come back. Like, having that discipline seems difficult for a lot of people.
Good answer. Good answer. All right,
Gabriel. So, my name is Gabriel. I kind of have a two-parter, and anybody can answer. If I can ask two, if that's okay. First question is, Omar, you were saying how it's kind of harder to develop the soft skills because it's like some people say it's just in you or it isn't. How would you if it's like harder for you to be more social and like be outgoing and whatnot? And then a second question would be, if you can remember back when you were working in the industry in the beginning and like kind of in the lower positions, how would you handle dealing with people higher up who didn't have good attitudes and who you didn't get along with in a positive way so that, you don't get in trouble and you don't, lose any opportunities?
Yeah, so I'll go with that. So I'm ex-military, so I'll tell you what my difficulties here. military is very dark humor. There's pros and cons to the military. One of the pros is that you learn to respect the title, not the person. So if I have someone who's very difficult, who's higher up than me, I just keep my mouth shut and do what I'm told, right? The one thing the military is very good at is like, it's faster, which is true, to just do what you're told than to argue about it. Because at the end of the day, I still got to do what the client's telling me to do. So I'm not going to argue. I'm just going to get it done. To your other side of that, I read a lot of books, is what I've really gone into. And to what you said up here a little bit earlier, I've been fortunate in the last couple of years, let's say 5 years, to meet people who have really good communication skills and who I've told, hey, I'm not a good communicator, I'm not a good person, talk me through these things and help me. And that has helped me immensely in the last couple of years because I've met people like Jessica and Caleb who are very good at that, and they communicate very well, and they are able to articulate when you say things and how that makes people feel. And I've met people like Joe Martin who honestly makes everybody look like they're pieces of shit because he's such a good person. He constantly just has this attitude and this way of speaking that makes you feel really good. And to be around that kind of personality and to see that, and I met other people recently in the last couple of years as well, like Josh as well. They have this personality about them and the way they speak that it makes you think differently. And I've been vulnerable and said, hey, I would say this, or I would have done this. If you would have said it this way, same intention, right? The tonalities could still be done the way you speak, but the end result of how it gets perceived is this. And you're like, oh yeah, you know what, that does make sense. I was a little aggressive in my verbiage, or I was a little bit arrogant in the way I said that. But having those open dialogues, people does that. The other thing I've done is I've read a lot of books that kind of like how to communicate, how to listen. I don't do very good at listening, obviously, because I talk more than I listen. But I have read books that kind of help you do that. And as far as back to the military thing, the one book I read that was the biggest help for me, it was called On Conus. And in the military, we have a lot of terminologies we use that are very inappropriate, and I won't use on social media. Very dark, very inappropriate stuff. And it literally says, if you were going to say this in the corporate environment, you would say this. And it could be simple, like, if I want to motivate you in the military, I would have talked shit to you, right? Oh, you're fat, you're a Slav, get down, do whatever, right? You can't talk to people like that. So then be like, excuse me, what did you just say? Instead, I got to be like, hey, man, let's have a conversation. How can I help out? I heard you were struggling with X, Y, Z. I have to walk in a situation that if you're even asking me for that, to help out. I can't just tell you what I want you to do, right? It's not the same way it works. So that book, when I read that, was my first initial switch from that staff sergeant mentality of I'm in charge of everything, I got to give all that. It's just to I need to be more in a service mentality and I don't want to say holding hands, but I need to mentor and hold the hands of my people as they're coming up to make sure they're getting what they need and not what I want them to do. And I think that dynamic shift is what really helped out, including meeting people like them and Joe and stuff that they have such a way and such a presence of communicating with you that you want to do more because they're so nice about it. You don't want to disappoint, right? That to me is what I think would work out.
I want to say one thing. Challenge yourself. If you're uncomfortable in those positions, put yourself in those positions. I do it to this day. If there's something I'm missing the finite piece, I want to hone in this skill. It's because I'm uncomfortable doing it. Just put yourself in position. Joe, I would like to be client liaison and stage manager on this one, knowingly. That's my technique. Know it. I'm going to go do it to get better. You think you're going to read about how to throw a better knuckle curveball? Absolutely not, sir. Put yourself in the situation, work at it, fail, keep going.
Does take reps. Cindy, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I think for someone that's more introverted, because I tend to be that way too. I think listening and having a good problem-solving skills would go a long way.
Yeah.
And definitely putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. You have to get through it.
Excellent. Excellent. We are going to take one final question. So we're going to come down in front. We're not coming down in front. We have one final question.
This is actually not a question, but it's something that people kicked in my brain. Make sure you have all the information, that you give it all, and that you get it all. I was told we were doing a virtual meeting with this old woman who was a doctor. Turns out she was a doctor of astrophysics and had been the commander on the space shuttle and the head of the astronaut program. So I'm expecting an old woman who's a doctor. So you got to have all the information.
Nice. Okay. One final question. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, on behalf of everybody here, we want to thank Matt for coming out. You have an incredibly busy schedule and that you've donated your time. The most important thing we have. Is very cool.
Now I don't have to do that.
And this question piggybacks on what Jessica was asking. Is there, and I think Omar fielded this question earlier too a little bit, is there a particular blind spot that you've witnessed professionals embarking on their AV careers make more often in soft skill sets? A particular blind spot as far as soft skills that you've witnessed people more consistently make across?
Are you saying a blind spot outside of soft skills?
Well, let's do both if you can.
Don't
Soft skills
oversell your abilities.
Right.
You'll get
Okay.
called, you'll get
hell yeah.
smoked quick.
Oh, yeah.
Undersell yourself. Under-promise, over-deliver. Cliche, but please under-promise, over-deliver every day until you're in the grave, especially in this business. You're much heavier into the engineering world.
Yeah.
If you overstate your abilities and you embarrass somebody who knows everybody in the United States of America, he's going to go on Facebook and tell everyone.
I got a quick story for you. Sorry.
Quick
I'll tell
story.
you.
Quick.
I'll tell you a story that happened. I turned down an ESC gig because there was one piece of machine. I was like, hey, I don't really know watch out that well. Like I know what it does. I know how to kind of work, but I'm not a watch out guy. So I turned it down. They brought somebody else in to do the show. I got called within 24 hours of the setup day. They're like, hey, please come in. The guy they brought in oversold himself and knew way less than I did. But because I was honest, like, hey, I know I could everything else you have on this show, I got you. But this one piece of gear I don't know. And if that is your main playback system, you should find someone else who knows it better because if anything does like majorly go wrong, I can't solve it. And that's what I'm here to do. The guy, there was a bunch of things he didn't know, but he oversold himself. They said, hey, we'll pay you more. Can you come right now? And I ended up going out there. And the problem they were having with watch out was very minimal. And I knew enough to solve that, thank God. But everything else they had was, to me, was super simple. But the guy didn't know the switcher side, didn't know the E2 side, didn't know the LED side. So like he knew what they did and what's up, but they didn't know the nitty-gritty technical side. And then they would call me back because I was honest about it. And I said, hey, I may not be the one for this. The other guy got let go. I got brought in, and then they paid me more for that just to come in and do it because I was on a different show. So I couldn't come in the first day, which is why another reason I had to turn it down. And they're like, whatever you need, just come. All right.
Day rate's not worth blowing your name.
Yeah.
No, your
I've seen it.
reputation will last
I hear
long.
Jim in the barrel. Seen it a million times. It's important.
Yeah.
It's quite often. And are we allowed to answer the other half of the question?
We're going to take one more from Maurice Johnson. This better be good.
Oh, it's Mo.
No, y'all have the easy stuff, but you guys do the hard stuff. And the reason why I say that is because y'all talking about soft skills. And then with the client's experience is everything.
Yeah.
They pay the bills, and the people that they work for pay the bills. I'm going to take it back to us. Hi, Cindy. How are you? Haven't seen you in a while.
Well.
Matt, I'm sorry I called you the wrong name earlier.
What'd you call me?
Oh,
Mo?
good.
You
You didn't
just
get
sold
it. You didn't
yourself
catch that,
out.
but I'm
Just
sorry.
joking. He was
But
just joking.
Tell less
what
information.
do you do? What
Less.
do you do? What do you do when you have personality conflicts with your team?
Interesting.
Are you saying with a production crew
Within the
or
production?
with my team internally?
Whoever you're in charge of, or making sure that they do carry out what you assign them to, but you have a conflict within folks, personalities
Oh, I love
that
Sounds like production.
kind of leak into
I think
the
it's
client's
more
experience.
appropriate that I speak to like a production crew rather than my
Yes.
staff. So if we have personality conflicts, I'll do my best to try and figure out who's causing that problem. And I'll tap them on the shoulder, and I'll say, the water's over there. I'm gonna give you 1 minute and 30 seconds to course correct. We're gonna all be in this room for the next 17 hours together. If you think that's gonna bring value, you've thought wrong. See you in 1:30. Thank you. Give me the opportunity. No, come on, you know. It's long days. Your sock is still wet. It's like, you know. But you have to have that discipline. You got to dig deep. You know, that's something that we all have done. It's long. I think those long days are the generation before us that it used to be like, we're doing 17-hour days. That's our credibility. Yeah, that's not. No, I don't want that. We're going to try and plan appropriately so we're not there. So, no, I got to give an opportunity because I also can't blow the show too. But I cannot I can't have that bad energy. There's a lot of us together in a room, right? And if we're not all jiving, you know, it's a, to use a cliche, it is a team effort.
You're much nicer than I am.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I think we have taken all of our questions for today. So thank you guys for your questions. They're all really well thought out and very respectful of everybody's time and you know, their skill sets. And, you know, thank you, Cindy, for joining us remotely.
Thank you, Cindy.
CCI.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. Nice to meet you, Matt and Omar.
And it's so nice to have one of our first graduates from 10 years ago. This is our 10th anniversary. And we're always very proud of Cindy, and we all have maintained all these relationships that we've been talking about. So Cindy, you're doing great, and we love it.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Omar, thank you for coming up from Orlando with Jess and the team here, and for spending so much time with us, and you know, doing the training yesterday, especially in the audio and video side. But thank you very much for your participation today.
Thank you for having me.
And Matt, thank you very much. It's been a little while since we've seen each other too,
has.
so I'm really glad that, you know, we got this opportunity. And, you know, we appreciate it. All the things you're contributing, you know, technical and soft skills and production and just being a good human that, you know, you're passing along is going to make all of us better.
I appreciate it. It's important to cultivate.
Absolutely. This is your future team,
I know.
right? So listen, thank you everyone for joining us. It was another great year of Pirate U, and we will see you all next year for the 11th. Thank you very much.